You think of Abraham Lincoln and his ideals of freedom, opportunity, and equality. What comes to mind thinking about how it impacts your life?
Well, you know, he was known as the great emancipator because he freed the slaves, and my grandfather was a slave, and that means something special to me because had it not been for Abraham Lincoln, the chances are that I and you would still be living as slaves. But luckily for us, good for us, Lincoln did what he did, and we're now free people.
Considering the present day, what are you most proud of when it comes to freedom, equality, and opportunity?
I think the thing I'm most proud of is what I've mentioned before, the ability to go and do and be what I want to be. I can rise as high as I'm able to do. If I'm smart enough, if I work hard enough, I can go almost anywhere. I'm not going to be held back by the color of my skin, and that's important to me because I'm old enough to remember when there were movie theaters I couldn't go to, there were restaurants I couldn't eat in, there were jobs I couldn't have because of the color of my skin, not because I wasn't qualified or able, but because of the color of my skin. And that's no longer the case now, and so I feel best about that.
Granddad, what made you join the civil rights movement?
It was tremendously exciting because we felt we were doing wonderful work. We felt we were changing the country for the better, and that even though it was hard work and sometimes dangerous work, we were happy to do it and eager to do it. And I'm still very close to the people who did that with me today, even closer than I am with the people I went to high school or college. I'm closer with the people I was in the movement with.
Did you ever think that getting arrested was not the right way to go about getting change?
We debated about this question over and over and over again, and usually came out with the feeling that it was the right thing to do. I took a group of students, men and women, from the colleges in Atlanta down to the city hall, and we went into the cafeteria, and the first thing we saw was these black women behind steam tables where the food was. And they were looking at us with fear and admiration. Fear because they knew why we were there, we were going to sit in. That meant police would be called. Admiration because they had read about this happening in other places north of Atlanta, and so they were happy it was happening here, and they were able to witness it themselves. So we got our food, we went up to the cashier, a white woman, and she said, "I'm awfully sorry, this is for City Hall employees only." And I said, "You have a big sign out on the street here. It says City Hall cafeteria, the public is welcome." She said, "We don't mean it." I said, "Well, we'll stand here until you do." And she called the police, and the police came and arrested us and took us away. And that's how I got arrested the first time.
What was it like serving on the Georgia legislation? Were they rude to you?
Yes, some of them were very rude to me, and one or two of them never spoke to me. I was there for 20 years. But most of them, after I'd gotten in the legislature, understood that I was a vote. I could vote for what they wanted or I could vote against what they wanted. And they're not fools. They wanted me to vote for what they wanted, and so they began to treat me like a decent human being. So over the 20 years I was there, I eventually left the House of Representatives and I got elected to the Georgia State Senate, and I became chairman of a committee and eventually chairman of my delegation to the legislature. It was the biggest delegation in the legislature, so it was an important position for me. So eventually I think if they didn't like me, at least they respected me.
Who did you look up to?
Well, one was Martin Luther King, of course, who is the most noble figure, most well-known figure in the civil rights movement. He was a real inspiration to me. He taught me at Morehouse, I'm one of 8 people in the whole world who can say legitimately I was a student of Dr. King's. You know, a lot of people say that, but he only taught one time, only taught one class, only 8 people in the class. I'm one of the 8. So if you hear somebody say I was a student of Dr. King's and he or she is not one of the 8, they're telling a lie. Let me ask you a question, Jacob. What do you think is your responsibility to maintain freedom in the world? What is it that you have to do?
I think what I need to do is I need to stand up for what I believe in and actually do what I feel is right, not just say things are wrong, because saying things isn't really going to get anything done unless you actually do what you say.
And what about you, Reese?
I feel that my responsibility is to just stand up for what I believe in, and if I feel that something needs to be changed, to go ahead and do what I can to do it.
What do you want my generation to take from this? What do you think that we need to do to carry on the legacy of the civil rights and all the things that you did?
I think you need to do several things. You need to do what you're doing right now, which is to record the experiences of older people who won't be with us all the time, who are going to pass away, and get from them the stories of what they did, how they did it, how they succeeded, how they failed. Get their stories written down or recorded in this way. And next, you have to ask yourself, what can I do? What is it I can do to push the needle forward? What can I do to improve freedom in our country? Will it be marching or protesting? What is it I'm going to do? And you have to decide for yourself, I'm going to do this or that or the other thing, and I'm going to try, if I can, to expand freedom in the country so that future Americans have a better life than I do. I think you have to say, I'm going to do something. I may not know what it is right now, but I'm going to do something to make freedom expand.